was a beautiful summer afternoon to go see a couple of bands play in Lawrence, Kansas, which is about an hour from my house. It's kind of a cool old town, known for the Jayhawks winning basketball team. There's also a Haskell Indian Nations University here. It opened in 1884. It's kind of a cool little campus. They've got a real cool stadium, Haskell Stadium, built in 1926. I don't think it gets much use. They've got a basketball team. This stadium held 10,500 people, and I'm not sure if it gets used at all. Just like this chapel here with all the stained glass all covered up. Lawrence, Kansas actually surprisingly flies the American flag. It's got some cool old houses and buildings and such. This one's particularly nice, the castle. It's on Mass Street, Massachusetts, which is the kind of the main drag with lots of cool shops and stuff. Nice park. There's actually churches in Lawrence. Thinking that was a Presbyterian. This is Methodist. I can't remember, but nice native stonework on these buildings. So I was hungry and walked down Mass Street. There's a great bicycle shop, Sunflower State Bikes. Being a college town, you can have lots of bicycles. And these some nice ones. Some of these cost as much as a car. Like this really super cool one. There's this pyrite fool's gold permineralized ammonites at the Summit Steps Mineral Gemstones. I'll have to talk about that later. So as hungry as I am, I get there to Rusty Tacos, and this is the taco I get. It's one bite. What kind of deal is this? Like $15. That's stupid. And of course you got to go crate digging while you're there. Love Garden is a rather cool shop. Nice creaky old wood floors. They do have some stereo equipment. As you can see, some vintage stuff. And, you know, it's worth checking out the new stuff, even though I have no idea what most of the stuff is. And kind of, you know, fortunately, I'm not into everything. Because I buy stuff enough. Meow. Would have got that, but it's $32 for I don't know what. I do have that Bill Withers. It's a great album. Pick that thing up. But yeah, fortunately I didn't need much there. That was at least an interesting cover anyway. Once again, an interesting cover. There's my heater spinning up if you could hear it. And appropriately, they do have a pretty decent metal section, usually. Whereas most stores around do not have hardly any metal, if at all. They usually have I don't know about a great selection, but somewhat large selection, like I said, compared to most. I would have liked to pick up the Spirit World. Finally noticed what I was doing with the camera. I think I need that Witherfall, but I'm not sure. But the Yob, I think I still need that Yob. Those Yob albums. Eventually. I was saving money for the show. So it's a pretty decent store. If you're ever in Lawrence, Kansas, check out the Love Garden. Alright, let's see what I picked up at the Love Garden in Lawrence, Kansas record store. This is Steve with Salt Magazine, of course. Thanks for coming back. Now, I've got something new I haven't tried before. My coworker showed me. It's not like it's not everywhere around, but this looks tasty. Tropical mango. It's good. A good fruit. Let's check it out. I can already imagine what it tastes like. I can just already taste it in my head. Very sweet. Yeah, it has a taste of multiple things, stuff that's in it. I don't know. Carnipure, carnitine, 0% of a whole bunch of stuff. Know this, know that. I can't read it well enough. It's not light enough in here. Energy, 0 sugar. That's what I'm tasting. I'm tasting fruit without sugar. Natural caffeine. As opposed to what? Do tell. Treasure of San Gennaro. Film soundtrack. Very Italian. Definitely 1968. Got some hippie hints. In fact, it's on this this Buddha Records label. How trippy is that? This one has a brass grommet in it. Kind of see it a little bit, tiny little grommet. Some people say those are for hanging records as display in the record store. I assume that if that were the case, that the shrink on there would not give way. I don't know. That's a thought. I'm told that that's a cutout grommet, though. Do you have any of these records, probably from the 60s or so, that have a brass grommet? Which ones, if so? Let me know in the comments below. There's Cinta Berger on the cover as Maggie. Now, I looked and I was not able to find a English version of this Italian movie. So if you know where I can watch a version of this movie that at least has English subtitles, let me know in the comments below. It's pretty cool. Pretty fun. Pretty fun. It's got some flamenco on it and stuff. What do I do with my hands? Jean-Luc Ponty. I thought I had this already. Yet I didn't see it in my Discogs listing. Sometimes when I bring up my Discogs it looks like my Discogs, but it's assuming I'm not logged in, and so it doesn't show me sometimes. It's a little frustrating when I'm trying not to double buy records. Anyway, I got home and I realized I'd bought a 1976 pressing last year. But this 1979 pressing is minty, other than a couple of tiny sleeve bends that you can't barely see. You could get that in new in the store. And it sounds and plays, it sounds unplayed. This is kind of interesting. In spite of their long friendship, these two musicians, Stéphane Grappelli and Jean-Luc Ponty, here it comes. These two musicians had never previously had the opportunity to record together. When we planned to cut this record, Jean-Luc had just decided to leave for America, where he was awaited by Frank Zappa. As a Zappa fan might know, he left, promising to realize this project as soon as the Americans would give him the time. After a year of touring with Frank Zappa, Jean-Luc told us that he had a few days free to record while passing through London. During this year of work in the United States, he had patiently composed and arranged all the cuts on this record. All the musicians taking part in the session were impressed by both Jean-Luc's talent, the precision of his arrangements, and the ease with which Stéphane Grappelli adapted to this type of music, which he was playing for the first time. Cool. Side 2 of this has a couple of has guitarist Philip Catherine playing some cool guitar on here. So at least check out that Violin Summit number 2 and Valerie on this Violin Summit of Ponty and Grappelli. My favorite artist, as you probably know by now. Bar-Kays. Propositions. Bassist James Alexander has kept this funk thing going since 1964. Believe it or not. This seems old to some of you, but you may not realize basically the Bar-Kays go back that far. Not without a few hiccups. In 1967, most of the group died in a plane crash with Otis Redding, you might know. But anyway, at this point, there's some good basketball tunes. I forget what year this is. 83, I think, maybe. Anyway. Good basketball tunes here, with most of it being upbeat. Like the hit, Do It, Let Me See You Shake. Too much caffeine. Talk to Me With Your Body. Just makes you want to get married, doesn't it? Some of it brings to mind James Brown or Cameo. Now, would you leave the shrink on this one and be able to display this a little nicer? It's kind of wrinkly, it's pulled back, but it's got the hype sticker on there. What would you do? Steaming these off takes a little bit, and I've only done that on one record so far, one or two maybe. But anyway, let me know in the comments below. What did Julie want? Whatever Julie wants. Julie London. Apparently furs, jewels, and being surrounded in $750,000 cash. $750,000. Yeah, that's the equivalent of more than $77 million in today's money. Pocket change. I guess she wanted smoking and drinking more than singing, though, because that kind of ended her career. Well, after 32 records, anyway. But this album is 1961, number 14 of those albums. Her whimsical and sultry voice make these bluesy tunes more upbeat, with the music being conducted by Russell Garcia. Of course, there's some noise on this old London copy, but that's to be expected. I've got a few scratches myself, but I still play well. Quite a few songs on here, which is nice. Why Don't You Do Right? My Heart Belongs to Daddy. Some people, it freaks them out nowadays. Hard-Hearted Hannah, Do It Again. Take Back Your Mink. Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. A song you expect to hear from Julian London. Daddy. An Occasional Man. Love for Sale. Always True to You in My Fashion. There'll Be Some Changes Made, which has got a little bit interesting lyrics. And Tired, which this record may or may not make you. It's, you know, maybe her voice does lull you to sleep, but it's pretty upbeat. Halloween is tomorrow. It's about the scary, fear, and people do like the idea of ghosts. Why do you like the idea of ghosts? Why does that appeal to you? It's an interesting thought. It thrills, yet they usually point to death, fear. Well, how about believing in a good ghost? Yes, the Holy Ghost, of course. Friends actor, the TV show Friends, the actor Matthew Perry, he just died yesterday or the day before. And I was reading in there, and in his book, he says, his recent book, he says, he talks about how God helped him trade in the alcoholic spirits that result in fear and depression and often death. Traded that in. He found that he was able to trade that in for the Holy Spirit of peace. And there's a lot going on, and people are searching for consolation in that, and the answer is not more devastation that arises usually, often, from alcohol and other things like that. But true peace can be found in the Prince of Peace. So anyway, shout out to Jeff over at Gas Masks and Hand Grenades. I'll leave a link in the notes below. And he has had a conversation this year with Kelly Shaefer and Paul Masvidal of Atheist and Cynic at the same time. And it's kind of cool to hear them talk back and forth about the history of the bands, the time period, what's going on musically and all that kind of stuff, and stuff along the way up to now. Mostly, I'm just going to show you these records because they turned out so well. I picked up these splatter versions of the records finally. You know, of course, I've always had these on CD, but these turned out so great. Should have brought something else to put these on. I thought of everything but that. So anyway, that's their debut. That was Pieces, was it Pieces? Pieces of Time? Yes, Pieces of Time. 1989 was refreshing from some of the other hair metal stuff that was going on. It's very much death metal, yet you could see the progress of the future of extreme metal being fashioned by bands like Schuldner's Death, which I'm a huge fan of. Even more of a fan of Unquestionable Presence. 1992, some of the best elements of their progressive metal, and one of their coolest tracks overall, Enthralled in Essence, on this album. If you don't check any other song out, check that song out on there. Elements. This is probably their best album overall. They did a nice, Nuclear Blast did a great job of putting these back out, repressing these and everything. This is probably their best album overall. All the songs are good consistently throughout the album. It's just a great album. This one is interesting. I couldn't remember if I'd even listened to this album. I hate to say, in a way. I'm pretty sure I have the CD, but 2010, it's been long enough. I'm sure I've heard it. I seem to remember in the back of my mind having heard it, but I don't. I listened to this record, and it's better than I was expecting it to be, because I didn't care for the cover quite as much. It's kind of cool, but it's kind of bland. And I was hoping that they were going to do this right and at least use gold instead of yellow. This would have looked a lot cooler if they had not used yellow. I mean, maybe it's the yellow is kind of a atheist color for whatever reason. But this would have looked so much cooler with gold, and so now it's kind of plain, kind of like the record, the sleeve. But it's actually a good record. It's I don't know that anything stands out real big, but it still sounds really good. And it'll be interesting to see what he does with a new band once again, because live, that band was amazing. Had it to a T, on a dime. And they're flying around like, it's cool to see young guys really enjoying playing this classic music. Amazing. This is great stuff. It's not one of my favorite progressive metal or extreme metal bands necessarily. Overall, but I love their sound. I love the sound. I just wish some of the songs were written a little bit more like, I shouldn't say, but because there's some great stuff, and it's really great. It's better than a lot of most death metal you're going to hear out there. But I'll just say, the band Death had more consistently good, great songs, great albums. Now, atheism can lead to destructive selfishness without any rules above you other than what you allow for yourself, and even then, how many, allow the law to be above themselves, you know, an absolute, you know. Cynicism can lead to destructive fear, especially towards other people and stuff. It's not healthy to be constantly cynical about everything. It's good to question things. It's very good to be inquisitive. It's important to be inquisitive. But to be consistently cynical can lead to depression and fear and those kinds of things. The earth, the universe, everything, nothing, the universe, the earth could absolutely not create itself. It does not have a mind to. In common sense, a mind should tell you a mindless nothing cannot create something. Something does not arise from nothing. You just know that. This is the beginning of being a believer in God. I have an appreciation for all Earth's elements which sustain us, give us sustenance. Yet we would all have even more appreciation for it and for each other when we realize that everything good in the world, in the universe, is a gift from a loving, providing creator who wishes us to also create and to celebrate life. That's truth. And seeking that is a more powerful thing. So it's something that brings life and joy. It can bring life and joy. Refocused. Once again, I've got Cynic stuff on CD. This turned out rather nicely. The Refocused, it's the 30th anniversary to kind of go along with this tour that they just did, the 30th anniversary, that if you haven't checked it out yet, Salt TV 66 showed the whole show. I wasn't sure where to even break that Cynic up. I didn't really want to. I kind of wanted to, just for brevity's sake. But an hour long, they just had a continuous flow, which is kind of cool, you know, in a way. But it was dark the whole time, so terrible video. But it was a cool show. But yeah, 30th anniversary of their debut, Focused. It's remixed and remastered. It's kind of a tribute to Sean Malone and Shine Reinhardt, who died in both died in the bassist, original bassist and guitar drummer, who died in 2020. So you know, it's a nice tribute here. Some liner notes and photos and everything. Nice job. As you may know, Traced in Air is kind of a, once again on silver here. It's nice custom labels. This was a return of sorts. And it was really a return of Cynic after quite a few years, 2008. This is more progressive, less of the death metal thing, and kind of a smooth sound. You know, if you're into new age music and progressive fusion, that kind of stuff, as well as metal, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Carbon-based anatomy was an EP, 2011. I really like the clean, pure voice of Amy Correa. She reminds me of Sandra Cretu on the Enigma albums. If you ever, I love Enigma. It's kind of a cool die cut. There's a series of these. If you know anything about this, great stuff. This art is by Robert Vinoza, who I'm pretty sure has done all the album covers, but this is real different. This is one of his last pieces just before his anatomy turned back into inanimate carbon. It's got a nice inner here. Of course, the type's a bit small, but some more art. This one's on carbon black. That artist, Robert Vinoza, he's the one who introduced H.R. Geiger to Salvador Dali, two of my favorite artists. And then, lastly, carbon, kindly bent to Frias. This is more like what the Atheist Jupiter albums should have been. This has a bit of a metallic bronze. I had to pay up for this thing. It's a double album. Pretty much identical. But see, this turned out great, you know. It has a nice natural tones to go with the natural. There's another one that looks super cool too. But this one, 2014, it has hints of some, I don't know, I want to call early emo, not the screamo stuff, but early emo harmonies and stuff. If you're thinking early emo stuff, and the focus on harmonies, and yet kind of arena rock melodies. Think Big Wreck, you know, bands like that kind of gave it a little bit more, I almost can't even use the word accessible, but it's closer. It's more accessible. As far as the sound goes, it could have broken them big. We'll see what they do next time, because they're also working on, fortunately working on some new tunes. Anyway, that's what I've got to show you this time. Make sure to like and subscribe. Let's communicate. Tell me how you like the show, if you've gone to see them, who's your favorite progressive metal band, Pestilence, Watchtower, that kind of stuff. And let me know how you liked the video. And once again, any of these other things that I've spoken about. Now, this is Steve with Salt Zine. Once again, thanks for showing up. Thanks for hanging out with me. Now go out there and use what God gifted you with to bless someone else. Right on. Right on.